This is the Kelz Key Show here on KCBZ Radio, a place where provocative thoughts flow from a provoked mind. I want to invite you all or welcome you all rather, to the show, and thank you for coming in to join me tonight. I want to talk about just a few things with you because, wow, it's been busy. It's been a busy week, a busy weekend, just a busy period. Busy time period. So I got a few things that I want to talk about. And of course, we're going to do our customary quotes and CDC watch. Sprinkled in after that will be my thoughts. So tonight's quote comes from the legendary John Thompson, who in his sagacious advice to his players and his coaches would often say, don't let the sum total of your existence be 8 to 10 pounds of air. Again, that's don't let the sum total of your existence be 8 to 10 pounds of air. And I want to start with that quote because Coach was my coach. And I just remember when he taught or coached at Georgetown, I was like in love with Georgetown. I wanted to go to DC. I wanted to be a Hoya. We had Hoya paraphernalia because we were John Thompson fans. We were John Thompson fans, but we were Patrick Ewing fans. We were Allen Iverson fans. We were fans of Alonzo Mourning and all of them, Dikembe Mutombo. We just were Hoya fans. And so yesterday, just looking back over his life, well, just considering one thing that I heard him say was that, quote, don't let 8 to 10 pounds of air be your sum total of your existence. And I just remember hearing that when I was probably a freshman in college and thinking, wow, that's deep, And then I started looking more at who he was and what he represented and how he stood up against the local drug dealer and asked him not to bring drugs into his, campus and to his players. Let's just respect this space. And Rayford, I know his first name was Rayford, but he did that. He respected the coach's wishes. And then how he took a stand against Prop 47, which was basically going to lower the pay or lower the qualifications, raise the qualifications for scholarships so that students who received 700 or less would not be eligible. And Thompson recognized that that was racist, and he was a pioneer in standing up. We watched the NBA players, the NHL players, the MLB players, and the National Football League as well as WNBA players stand up over the past week. So yeah, Thompson was a pioneer in that regard. He sat out and was determined to sit out games until they changed the proposition, and they did. So he was excellent. And then, of course, a winning coach, the first African-American coach to win in the NC2A. John Thompson just commanded respect, and you wanted to be around him. And what I finally discovered, ladies and gentlemen, about the quote, don't let 8 to 10 pounds of air be your sum total of existence, what he was really saying to his players and to his coaches is don't let the full existence or the full meaning of your life be simply basketball. A basketball is 8 to 10 pounds of air. And he was saying, just don't let that be what your life represents. So that got me to thinking about tonight. What does your life represent? Have you let your 8 to 10 pounds be all that you are? Or do you exist beyond your identity? Now, for us, we don't have to use the 8 to 10 pounds in the basketball, but 8 to 10 pounds could be a metaphor for whatever or whoever you identify yourself with. So if you are a singer, is that all you are? If you are an actress, is that all you are? If you're a gamer, is that all you are? Right? Do we allow ourselves to be so caught up in what we are passionate about that we can't see or move beyond those roles or that positioning? So that the quote, don't let 8 to 10 pounds be the sum total of your existence, is don't let gaming be all that you are. Don't let, let's see, don't let being a writer be all that you are. Don't let being a student, for those of you who are students, be all that you are. Be so much more. There, and I coupled that with one of my favorite sayings is mean something. Make your life mean something. There's so much going on today. There's so much happening in our world that it wouldn't be it would, excuse me, be easy to find your little place to fit in. Find your place to say, this is where I exist, this is how I exist, and this is how I'm going to succeed. Now, success is how you define it. It doesn't have to be how I define it. It doesn't have to be how society defines it. Success is your terms. So if you feel that you are a restaurateur and that is all that you're going to be, and you're happy with that, if you like it, I love it, right? But in being a restaurateur, what is the universal appeal? How do you make it more than just about you? Where's the humane appeal? What are you doing for people? What are you doing for others? And I know that there are people out there who are cynical, and some of them are just negative, and they think, no, no, no. What is it about them? What are they doing for me? What are people doing for me? Then does that really work? Because if all you're looking for is reciprocity, then how will you ever really be blessed, right? The blessing, the blessing is in giving. Trust me, it's in giving. It is a pleasure to be able to give. And when you give and then you receive on the back end of that blessing an unexpected blessing, well, now you know you're doing something right. So I think that if we learn to be a little bit less selfish and a little bit more selfless, a little bit more humane, maybe a little bit more philanthropic, a little bit more uh, fearless, let's say fearless, then I think that the ability to help others and the ability to help yourself in that way empowers you. It empowers you to be the best that you can be. It empowers you to move on. Now, I say that because we not only lost John Thompson, but we lost Chadwick Boseman. And Chadwick Boseman is I didn't even know who he was, right? I knew, and let me clear it up, because he did Marshall and he's performed as the Black Panther, but he was also Jackie Robinson in all of his roles. I'm familiar with all of his roles, and I knew he was an actor, but I didn't know he was a humanitarian. And I didn't know that he was he did it in humility. He allowed his pain, he allowed his pain to exist, but not to take over him, right? He never complained. He was selfless and humble and, dare I say, dare I say heroic until the end. How many of you would have been able to suffer for 4 years knowing that you were going to ultimately die? Ultimately, it was the cancer in the colon was a final. It was a final message. How many of you knew that? And how many of you would have allowed yourselves to let it just marinate within you and still continue to do your work, still continue to be philanthropic, still continue to film movies and do action in those movies? to participate actively in Twitter and provide a voice for the voiceless? How many of us would have been able to do that and to never say a word except to those who knew him closest? I imagine that would be his wife. How many of us can do that and can say that we did it? And that's something for us to think about. That's something for us as individuals to think about what this means, to think about how it means. How are we living our best lives? And is our best lives simply whatever we put on social media? Are our best lives whatever we are saying in the classroom or at work or when we're out there protesting? Is that really our best lives? Is our best lives that latest dance that we put on TikTok, or the joke that we are telling, or the tricks that we're playing? Or can we do better? When you think about Chadwick Boseman, when you think about John Thompson, the question that I thought of was, can I do better? Am I doing the best that I can? Am I demonstrating humility? Am I demonstrating compassion? Am I demonstrating values and morals that suggest I have values and morals? Or am I lost? Am I confused? Am I tortured or depressed by the things that are happening around me? And it's okay. Whatever your life is, that's okay, because that's your life. But if you make a choice to stand against whatever you don't like and you change it, it's a different life. And it's a different opportunity. And there are different values on the table. And so you have to ask yourself, am I currently doing my 8 to 10 pounds? Am I just moving my 8 to 10 pounds? Is this ball too heavy? Or can I add more to my plate? Can I be about more? Can I understand that there is more that I have to contribute than what I'm currently doing? Now, that's just my thought for today. It came through the quote of the beautiful John Thompson. Rest in peace, coach. Rest in peace, coach. I love you. I love you, love you, love you. And thank you. Thank you for all those great Georgetown Hoya years. And then later, thank you for your valuable commentary. So always awesome, always awesome. Now, I want to talk about the, with respect to, I want to talk about what's going on now with respect to the rest of the world. So we're going to do something first, which is the CDC watch. And I'm going to actually show the screen for this one because I want people to see that these are the numbers and where I'm currently getting these numbers from. And it's important. I want us to be able to talk about it primarily because I want you all to see that while our numbers are declining here in the United States and it appears to be going down, it's still the beginning. It's still the very beginning of the slowdown and the downwards trickle. So that means that it can actually go up at any time. It can actually escalate. And always, please keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that these numbers that we see on this screen right now, if you're looking, I'm going to say them in a moment, but if you're watching the screen, these numbers that we see are not always accurate. And what that means is that there's about 8 to 10 there's about 10 times, these numbers may be off by 7 to 10 times. So we don't know what the accurate data is, but this is the closest that we have. And really it's being reported by the CDC, who works for Trump, which just constantly reminds us that these numbers may be skewed anyway. So with respect to what the CDC is currently reporting, We are at 6,443,000 cases. I'm sorry, 4,430 cases. Listen to me. 6,004,443 current cases in the United States. Of those numbers, 183,050 have currently died from the coronavirus. In the USA, within the last 7 days, 200,888, 876 cases have been reported. Now, keep in mind that for every 100,000 people, 1,500 are possibly infected. So while the numbers are going down, we still want to operate with that in mind, because flu season is coming upon us. The fall, the weather is getting ready to change. September 22nd is going to be your autumn change of seasons. Autumn, we change from summer solstice into the autumn solstice. So that will be happening around September 22nd. As the weather changes, we know that the chances of spreading the disease are even more likely. And because this is something that we are new to, something that we are not yet completely familiar with. And when I say we, I'm referring to the scientists like Fauci and Birch and the like, who are still struggling to get a strong definition of what the coronavirus is, what the symptoms are, what are the possible offshoots of the coronavirus as it impacts adults, seniors, middle lifers, how about that? Young adults, and then children. So it's impacting people in different ways. So they're still learning about it. And I say that to say this: do not sleep on the coronavirus. Do not think that because we are currently getting ready to shift back into a functioning society, that things have not changed, right? So some areas, I know particularly here in California, we're getting ready to open up, which means that your gyms are going to be reopening, your nail salons and your hair salons, for those that have not reopened already, are on their way to reopening. And we just still need to exercise caution. Continue to wear the mask. Continue to be a germaphobe if you are. If you aren't, become one. Wipe things down. Use bleach or whatever you have to make sure that you are clearly disinfecting areas. Do not inject the bleach, no matter what your president says. Do not drink the bleach, no matter what your president says. Just simply use it to disinfect. If you don't use bleach, use Pine Sol, whatever you're using, Lysol, disinfectants, use any of those disinfectants. I'm not name dropping, you can use off brands, but whatever you use, make sure that you're using it. Continue to exercise caution. As we do normally, let's just go by the first 3 cases. In the United States, the number one state, as usual, is my home state, California. We have 704,085 cases. Now I know how to read numbers. I'm not sure what's going on, but 704,085 cases currently to date. Florida, 616,629. Texas, 612,996 cases to date. Of those cases, we are currently looking down here for your lowest cases. Again, we do the highest and the lowest. The lowest 3, we are still looking at Guam, which has 1,447 cases. Virgin Islands, 1,139 cases. I'm going to back up and go one more, or now to the Northern Mariana Islands, and they have 56 cases. The American territories reporting in with 0, American Samoa, the Federated States of Micronesia, Palau, and Republic of Marshall Islands. Kudos to the American territories for being currently 0 case free. Again, drop us a line and let us know what you're doing so we can exercise those same habits, because I'm sure we'd all like to get back to our to life as we know it. Although I doubt that we ever will. But those are your current cases, ladies and gentlemen, for COVID. Remember to mask up, stay up, wrap up, and disinfect up, right? Make sure that you're keeping things clean. Wash your hands regularly. And if you don't like dry hands, particularly as the weather is starting to change, get a hold of a nice moisturizer, but don't stop washing. All right. Now, that's what I wanted to talk about with respect to COVID. And I'm going to now move forward and basically talk about what's happening in the world today. So can I say this, ladies and gentlemen? I love Jacob Blake's family. I love them because they are so decidedly angry, and rightfully so. And they're not trying to mask their pain. They're not trying to mask their frustration. And they're not trying to mask, right, the injustices. They're calling it out, and they're taking names and hey, making it work. And so I want to talk specifically probably about Jacob Blake Sr. Mr. Blake is hurt, and you can see his hurt. If you've watched an interview with him, if you've heard him talk, he often talks on CNN, but if you've heard him talk, he oftentimes tears up in the middle of his conversation. And he can't, his son didn't pass away, but an officer shot his son 7 times in the back. And the officer grabbed his t-shirt. At one point, it looked like he was pulling him by the neck, but he grabbed his t-shirt and held him while he continued to unload 7 bullets into his back. Now, we all know that that's an injustice, and we all know that that was wrong, and we all know that regardless of whatever they are trying to say that Jacob Blake did, that there's no way he should have been shot 7 times in the back for it, especially when his life, or when he was not an imminent threat to the presiding officers. In no way was he a threat to the officers, and especially the officer who shot him. His back was to him. He wasn't even paying attention to them, and his children were in the car. Now, last week I talked about controlling the narrative, and the narrative is about the story, right? So he who controls the narrative often gets his point out. And what the Kenosha Police Department did, they did a few things wrong. The first thing they did wrong was they took 5 days to even offer an explanation for why they were harassing Mr. Blake in the first place. 5 days. When they finally came up with the explanation, what they said was this: Jacob Blake Jr. had a sexual assault warrant against him, and that he was harassing a woman for the last, it's 8 months or 8 years. I can't even remember, but the claim sounded ridiculous. The charge was that he was harassing her, and he had her for eight months, let's say, because I can't remember if it was 8 years. That would be ridiculous, and I think it was 8 years. But here's my point. Really? Really? Somebody is going to hold you. They didn't say he was holding her against his will or against her will. They didn't say that there was any kind of struggle, that there was any form of kidnapping going on, that it was just a repeated sexual assault. How does that work? Now, before I even get into this, let me say, full disclosure, this by no means reflects my opinion against sexual assault. Sexual assault is a serious charge, and the allegations, if true, should be looked into. They should be looked into. And if he is guilty of it, Well, he should have been punished to the full extent of the law, but the law and not a gun, right? He should be punished by law and not the gun. The problem is that they used the gun. The problem is that they waited 5 days, for 5 whole days to come up, and that was the story they came up with. That he sexually assaulted someone for 8 years without holding them against their will, without kidnapping them, without any other form of abuse. He sexually assaulted somebody for 8 years. No other charges were tagged on to that, just the sexual assault. The warrant was out for the sexual assault. And then you know that they're lying, because immediately after they reported that, within a 24-hour time period, the district attorney said those were the charges, but they have since been dropped and the handcuffs have been released. Oh, really? So you mean to tell me that you have a man who has a warrant against him for sexual assault, for repeated sexual abuse for the last 8 years, and suddenly those charges are dropped? Somebody is lying. That's all I have to say. Is somebody is lying. Somebody is lying. That doesn't even make sense. That is so illogical. But that was the narrative that they tried to put out there. That's what they thought would be good for everyone to know, so that the Kenosha police and the officer would be justified in shooting this man in the back for 8 years. Ladies and gentlemen, how'd that work? 3 questions, 3 words, grammatically incorrect, but wholly and solely to the point. How'd that work? How does that work? I'll put the 4 in for people whose ears are burning, because mine kind of were. But how does that work? That's something for us to think about, because that was the narrative that they were determined to push. That was what they thought the public needed to hear in order to squash the commotion, in order to squash the trouble, in order to squash the protesting, in order to divert the attention away from the Kenosha police and to place it solely on the victim, 7 times shot, handcuffed to a bed, and clearly unable to speak up or defend himself in any way. They thought that they would push that narrative. Now, does that make sense to you? Why did they think they could do it? We'll talk about that in a moment. We're getting ready to go to break. This is your girl Kelz from Kelz Key, Provocative Thoughts for a Provoked Mind, here on KCBZ Radio. Keep it locked in, dialed in, tune in for the next half of the show. We will be right back shortly. And ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for listening.
Actions to help prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Wash your hands. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Cover your cough or sneeze. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects. And remember, you're safer at home. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19.
If you're looking to sell your home, look no further. JCL Property Group is a reliable real estate investment firm ready to service your needs. From conventional to innovative solutions, we are dedicated to one thing, making the sale. So act now. Log on to jclpropertygroup.com or call 1-855-331-2274. That's 1-855-331-2274. JCL.
So, are you tired of your insurance company treating you like an account number instead of a real person? Then visit freemaninsuranceservices.com. Freeman Insurance Services is a family-owned business in Albany, California, with over 30 years of experience offering the personal service and attention you deserve. With auto, home, business, life, and medical, your insurance solutions are tailored to fit your personal, family, or business needs. Real people, real service, real solutions. For more information, log on to www.freemaninsuranceservices.com or call 510-528-2700. That's 510-528-2700.
Hey there, welcome back to Kelz Key. It's your girl Kelz here on KCBZ Radio, Destination Global. Thanks for being locked in. Now, let's get back to this conversation because I'm really teed. I'm really upset about it that the Kenosha police and the Kenosha, Wisconsin, Kenosha County DA really had the utter audacity to try to further smear this man, Jacob Blake. And it's to add insult to injury. And they thought that because if they criminalized him so severely that it would be like, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. He needed to be gone. Doesn't work this time because, you know, the head of the chief of police for the Kenosha Police Department is on record saying negative things about Black people and justifying his quote, paraphrased, is some people need to get shot. Really? And why? If they aren't posing a threat to you, if they haven't taken your gun, if they haven't came to the situation with the gun, if they're not approaching you, rushing you, challenging you with a knife, if they haven't taken the baton off of your belt or took your mace and sprayed it in your face, in other words, if you are in no imminent harm, how is this individual a threat to you? You who have a holster that has mace, pepper spray, that has a gun, you who has a baton and handcuffs. All of these various methods, all of these various tools at your access, and yet the gun is always the first thing. Something is wrong with that picture. The gun is always the first thing. And how many times did they spray mace? Well, according to the eyewitnesses, they didn't. But the narrative says they sprayed it twice. And today, the word is 83 witnesses have come out against Jacob Blake. I wonder what they had to do to get those 83 witnesses. Somebody's cousin is about to be released. Somebody's warrants just got dropped. Somebody's parking tickets just got waived. If you found 83 people to stand up and say that Jacob Blake was wrong, that Jacob Blake had a knife, 83 citizens within that community to say Jacob Blake had a knife, when clearly the first video and the second video suggest that there weren't that many people out there. And they say it. The one guy that they kept interviewing last week, I want to say his name was Ray, I'm not sure, but he says it wasn't that many people out there to witness it. And there were two women fighting and he was trying to stop a fight. And if he showed up to stop a fight, why would he take a knife into the fight? How is that going to stop the fight between two females? Where would he get the knife at? And yet you see him on the ground wrestling. Yeah, no. I'm grateful for the Blake family, because the Blake family, especially the uncle and the father, are standing up and saying, no, this is injustice and we're not going to stand for it. And every time, like, for example, I just watched an interview with the uncle, and the uncle was saying the gloves are coming off. And the reporter said, well, you repeatedly have been against violence. Are you suggesting that violence is going to happen now? Is that what you mean by the phrase the gloves are coming off? He said, no, not at all. The gloves are coming off means we're going to be on our elected officials. We're going to be on them to demand change through law. We want the federal laws change. We want local laws change. We want the county laws change. The state laws changed. He went through a whole litany. And then he said, so that when the new elected officials come in, they'll be ready to go. And they'll be ready to pounce on this and end this injustice that happened to my nephew and continues to happen to Black men across the United States of America. Isn't that beautiful? Wasn't that powerful? I was so excited to hear him say that, because the reporters are, and I didn't get this actually from this reporter. I didn't get the feeling that he was trying to pinhole him and to bring out something, to provoke him to say something that was not going to be or that would be incendiary. He wasn't trying to do that. He was actually seeking clarification, because the Uncle Blake, I'm gonna just say that Justin, his name is Justin Blake. Uncle Justin he's clearly, again, justifiably, visibly angry, but it's a controlled anger. And it's a controlled anger that he has. It's a controlled anger that his mother, Julian Blake, has. It's a controlled anger, Julian Johnson, I think, but it's a controlled anger that she has. It's a controlled anger that Jacob has. Triple J, Julia, Justin, and Julian. Controlled anger. And so they're able to deal with the media. Can you imagine how hard that's got to be? Can you imagine that? How hard that is to deal with the media, and your son is just been shot. You're trying to process what just happened to your son, trying to make sure that his children who witnessed what happened to him are okay and aren't going to suffer any kind of traumatic setbacks as a result of it. And you have to deal with the media, not to mention the attorneys, plus the police, who are continuing to humiliate your son, continuing to demasculate your son, continuing to dehumanize your son and to criminalize your son. And somebody has a camera in your face asking you, well, how does it feel? Well, how do you feel about that? And what do you think Trump's role is? When you clearly want to say, right? I can't say it, my producer will kill me, but you clearly want to throw out a few profane choice words to say, get the mic out of my face. How do you think I feel? How would you feel if it happened to you? Right? But the Blake family they deserve an applaud. They deserve a hand clap. They deserve hugs. They deserve virtual kisses. They deserve all of that, because they're handling it in a dignified manner. And not that the other parents haven't, but of all the parents and all the families, I would say that Mr. Blake, well, Miss Julia, when she started with the first actual interview, she didn't speak hate. She didn't harbor any kind of animosity in her heart. She was clearly in pain, but she spoke about love. She spoke about ending the divisiveness. She spoke about the political structure of our nation and how it's dividing us as a country. And she said, before my son got shot, I was praying for this nation. Before my son got shot, I was praying for this nation, and I am still praying for this nation. So she set the stage. She set the tone, right? She did what Black people who are injured and who suffer through degradation and humiliation do. We turn the other cheek. We exercise our Christian values and our Christian faith, and we turn the other cheek. So she set the stage. And then Jacob Blake Sr. got up there and he prayed, and he's Muslim, so he prayed in Arabic, and it was a beautiful prayer. But he was angry, and he said, look, my son has been shot, so I can't really speak right now because my son has been shot. And the anger was real, the frustration was real, the tears were real. And what I loved about it was, for the first time in my immediate memory, and I'm thinking Trayvon Martin's dad did the same, but in my immediate memory, for the first time, a Black man stood up for his son. A father was at the podium representing his son. How powerful is that? And how powerful is it that every time they interview him, he says, I was with my son, and my son was like, I love you, Daddy. I need to hear that. Not only do I need to hear that, and I don't know why I need to hear it, but white America needed to hear it. They needed to hear the grieving anguish of a Black man, a father, rightfully angry, saying, look, you then shot my son. You bleep, bleep, bleeps have shot my son. And why? Why did he deserve 7 shots? Why did he deserve 1? And he told his son, because his son, the uncle said tonight that the son is still, he's stuck, he's traumatized. So his mind can't move past the fact that he was shot 7 times. His mind cannot move past that fact. And his father told him, baby, you shouldn't have been shot 1 time. So I can't answer that question, because you shouldn't have been shot at all. That was better than Obama saying Trayvon could have been his son. Better than Obama saying that could have been me. Better than Eric Holder saying that when they said it for Trayvon. Because this was a man standing up. Not that the women haven't been holding it down, but now you got a brother that's up here speaking and representing, and it's a brother and his brother, Uncle Julian, they representing for the Black men. And that's powerful, because now they got to look at it differently, because they're not coming in guns a-blazing. The guns that they're using are the words from their mouth, their verbiage that's saying, look, we don't have to say Black Lives Matter. We can show you, because we're not about to get up here and condone violence. We're not going to be all, allow our emotions to carry us to another place. We're going to be controlled and angry and impassioned about our beliefs. And you America, you're going to listen. And kudos to them. Kudos that they didn't want to meet Donald Trump, because as Mr. Blake said, Mr. Blake Sr., no, you are not going to politicize the shooting of my son. My son is not going to become a political pawn for your game. That's not what we're here for. And that's not what we're going to do. Even Benjamin Crump had to smile at that. Now, when you think about that, when you think about that this man is grieving and they're processing what has happened to their son, when you think about that, and then he still has the presence of mind and the political awareness, the astuteness to say, no, you're not going to use him to your advantage for any purposes. When you got the uncle saying he's a part of the reason we're in this mess in the first place, because since he's been in and his support for law enforcement has done nothing but continue to cause divisiveness, has continued to antagonize the situation and create the tension that's coming forth. That's a drop the mic, right? That's us saying, look, we're mad as hell and we ain't gonna take it no more. And that's saying we want attention. And I got a feeling, ladies and gentlemen, that 2020, for all that it's brought, what we're going to remember most is Ahmaud Marbury, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Rayshard Brooks, et al., because there are quite a few and I haven't named them all, and Jacob Blake. And there's a reason why Jacob Blake has survived, because his testimony is going to help to change the game. The same way that they brought George Floyd's brother to Congress for congressional hearings, they're going to bring Jacob. And you imagine Jacob in a wheelchair. And wait till we get to hear his story. And wait till we get to hear his truth and see how it differs. I suspect that people in Kenosha will be brought up on charges because somebody is lying. And the truth will soon come to the light. Now, I'm going to switch over from there, and here's my other thought. What about Portland's mayor? Portland's mayor, whose name I cannot recall at the moment, but this man stood up to Donald Trump and told him it had nothing to do with politics, right? What we're going through in Portland has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with you. You're the reason why the country is currently in the shape that it's in. You're the reason why Black people are feeling like they have to defend themselves. You're the reason why they are getting shot by the police officers. He went in on Donald Trump and nobody said, don't do it. Nobody said he went overboard. Nobody said he was wrong. Not one word from any politicians, maybe some Republicans, but nobody in the Democratic Party, which was huge. They did not come out to disavow, discredit, disclaim him. They didn't do any of that. And here's why, probably. Because sadly, Donald Trump, in his ever so present childish ways, responded by calling him first a fool. Okay. Now, let me just get academic for a minute. When you are teaching, when we are learning fallacies. So a fallacy is an error in reasoning. And from the Latin, you have the ad hominem attack. And the ad hominem attack is when you attack the individual and not the issue. Now, from Trump is all about ad hominem. And the reason that we use the ad hominem when we use it as a defense tactic is why? Is because we really don't understand the case. We don't have a proper comeback. We don't know to stay focused on the issues, or maybe because we really don't know the issues. Any of that could be Donald Trump. Any of those reasons are Donald Trump. right? Yeah, he's got my hair looking bad for those of you watching me, but anybody can do that. Now, here's where it makes a difference. This makes a difference because Trump resorts to name calling, as we all know. He resorts to name calling. He resorts to saying things that are below the belt. If you disagree, you're stupid. If you disagree, you're not with me, you're them. He can't say anything about Joe Biden except for Joe Biden is old and rigid and frail. Really? If that's the best you got against Joe, then you really don't have anything against him. If the best you could do was call the mayor a fool, then you really don't have anything against him, right? And yet, that's what he does. He repeatedly attacks below the belt. He repeatedly hits where it's inappropriate, unprofessional, unpresidential, and he does it because he has nothing else to fall back on. And it's up to us to be smarter than that. He uses Twitter as his platform because he wants people to agree with him. And if he says one more time that the reason he supports Antifa or QAnon or Boogaloo is because they like him, you needed some friends when you were growing up, Trump. You didn't have any friends. And sadly, your one friend has passed away. Rest in peace, Robert Trump. But you need some friends. Even your sister has turned her back on you, because I guarantee you, your sister, your federal judge sister, is not going to allow your niece, Mary Trump, to publish or her voice on tape if she was not against you as well. And it seems like if your family is dogging you out, something should wake you up to reality to say, maybe I'm wrong. That's what I think. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. No, he doesn't think normal. But seems like reason would say, let me back up a bit. Before I call this man a fool, before I bite into his rhetoric, let me think for a moment, what is a more judicious way to handle this? Maybe that's the problem. He doesn't know what the word judicious means. Maybe the problem is he really doesn't give a freaking flying. And that's probably true. But then that's when it becomes up to us. Up to you, up to me, up to everyone within the power of my voice, everyone overseas who has the right to vote, everyone who is in the military who has the right to vote. It is up to us to think about what we want to lead our country, who we want to lead our country. And maybe Biden isn't the person for the next 8 years, but certainly he's got to be the one for the next 4. For the next 4 years, until we could get ourselves back in level playing field, where we have someone who is representing this country who has a modicum of sense. Now, I know I always say we can't sleep on Joe. Don't sleep on Joe. We got to hold Joe to the fire too. We got to make sure that Joe and Miss Kamala Harris are doing their jobs as well. We want them to be held accountable too. But doggone, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm on this and I'm serious. We cannot handle 4 more years of Trump. We cannot handle a civil war. I think it's a race war. My brother says civil war. I'm going to go with him. We cannot handle a civil war. We cannot. We have to figure out a way to remove the nonsense. And if we can't do that, then we're going to be in trouble. We're going to be in trouble because I guarantee you, Donald Trump is going to run roughshod over the United States for the next 4 years. He's a lame duck. And while he's trying to advocate to give him another, 2 more seasons or sessions after winning this victory? Yeah, no. Franklin Delano Roosevelt ended all of that. We're not having repeated terms for presidents. So yeah, we need to stop him now so that we can gain control of America's morals and values, what we once stood for, what we were once respected for, that's now being lost, right? And it doesn't mean that stupidity is not okay, but stupidity, we can see it through Donald Trump, is not okay. Think about these things, ladies and gentlemen. And if you haven't yet registered to vote, register to vote. Now, before I close, let me end with my quote for the evening. Send you out powerful. I opened with Coach John Thompson. I'm going to leave with Chadwick Boseman, who said, "When I stand before God at the end of my life, I hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left. And I could say, I used everything you gave me. I used Mayor Ted Wheeler. I used everything that you gave me." Can we say that? Are we using everything that God has given us within our power? Everything, every blessing that the universe has bestowed us, every good and perfect thing that is within you, are you using it so that you can stand before whomever it is at the end of your journey and say, and hear, "Servant, well done"? Or as Bozeman said, "I used everything that you gave me, and I did it to the best of my ability." What a way to end his life. Rest in peace, Black Panther, my king. Wakanda forever. Rest in peace. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your girl, Kelz Key, here on KCBZ Radio, provocative thoughts from a provoked mind. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you next week. Have a blessed week. Stay prosperous. Stay blessed, stay healthy, and stay up. Talk to you later.